Number 10. Mekong Catfish. Lots of people mistake the Mekong giant catfish for a type of shark, as they can grow to monster lengths at up to 10.5 feet and weigh as much as 660 pounds. They're considered to be the largest freshwater fish in the world. These fish are also very shark-like in appearance. They have a large head with a wide set of eyes set low on their face with a big, toothless, gaping mouth. They're gray on top with a pale belly and no scales. Usually catfish are famous for their whiskers, but the adult Mekong River catfish are actually whiskerless. These massive fish live in the deeper waters of Southeast Asia. They thrive in the fast-moving currents and aren't seen very often due to how quickly the water flows. The Mekong giant catfish is now critically endangered due to pollution, overfishing, and construction in the river, with things like dams blocking migration routes to their usual breeding spots. The world has seen a dramatic drop in population, over 80% in the last 20 years. Sadly, there's estimated to be only a few hundred left in the wild at this point in time. Number 9. Flying Fox. For the record, this isn't an actual flying fox, it's a bat. But how big are bats? Usually pretty small, right? Well, not this guy. Meet the flying fox. This strange and fascinating creature inhabits vast spaces of Australia and is considered to be the Earth's largest bat species. It features an impressive wingspan of up to 5 feet 6 inches. While that might sound absolutely terrifying, you don't have to worry. These giant bats are relatively harmless to humans. The flying fox is actually a herbivore, so technically they're not a threat to humans, not that people think that when they see them fly around. They play a big role in reforestation of tree-dense places by eating fruit, primarily figs, and spreading their seeds all over the fertile forests. These intelligent animals live in huge colonies that are made up of individuals as well as family groups. There can be as many as 20,000 flying foxes in each colony. Imagine that many giant bats flying over your head! The colony establishes permanent and semi-permanent camps in areas that they know are close to food sources. At sunrise and sunset, flying foxes can be heard making all kinds of noises to communicate as they leave to feed or as they return to sleep. Number 8. Giant Amazon Leech. Leeches as a whole are a species that you want to avoid for various and obvious reasons. But when it comes to finding them in rivers, there are few more dangerous than that of the giant Amazon leech. As the name implies, the leech is truly a giant and is one of the world's largest. It can grow up to 18 inches in length and be 4 inches wide, making it something you really don't want to find attached to your body, especially since leeches are parasites. They latch onto your body and won't let go unless you do proper removal techniques, and in the case of this one, it'll be draining quite a lot of blood. The young feed mostly on amphibians, attacking caimans, anacondas, capybaras, and even domestic cattle. But I'm pretty sure they'll latch onto anything they can suck blood out of. The giant Amazon leech is a very good swimmer and is usually found under rocks or in debris in the water. They thrive in these coastal wetland marshes. Fun fact, a special chemical isolated from the saliva of the giant Amazonian leech is used as a medical treatment sometimes to break down blood clots in humans. Have you ever had a leech stuck on you? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, go ahead and like this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 7. Titan Beetle. If you don't like bugs, this one will for sure freak you out. Titan longhorn beetles live in the lush rainforests of South America in countries. They are the biggest beetles on the planet. The largest Titan specimen measured 6.6 inches long. They have a large reddish-brown and black abdomen, black legs, antenna and thorax, and light-colored wings with brown vein structures. Both males and females have wings, but only the males can fly. This gargantuan insect has mandibles that can snap a pencil in half quite easily, and they've even been reported to rip human flesh too. Don't worry, they aren't really known for being aggressive. They will hiss though, which is freaky, so don't mess with the Titan. What do these creepy beetles eat? Titan larvae feed below the ground on decaying wood, then spend just a few weeks as adults. There's not a lot known about this particular insect's biology, but some similar beetles don't actually eat as adults. That's weird, right? One adult Titan beetle that was held captive for a few weeks was pretty active and would even fly if it got hot enough, but he refused to eat any of the fruit and sugar water that was made available to him. There are some adult bugs that live entirely on calories consumed as larvae, and scientists think Titans may do that too. Number 6. Giant freshwater stingray. Stingrays are a breed of creature that if you leave them alone, you'll get left alone in return. But when it comes to the giant freshwater stingray, that's a pretty wide berth you're going to have to give it. Looking at this creature, you might think that it's a Photoshop job, but it's very real. It doesn't live in the deep oceans of the world, it prefers freshwater places, hence the name. Can you guess how heavy this thing is? 500 pounds? Keep guessing. 1,000 pounds? Getting closer. This stingray can weigh on average between 1,100 to 1,300 pounds, with an average length of over 16 feet at times. That's pretty huge. It also makes it one of the largest freshwater fish in the world. Needless to say, if you somehow catch one of these stingrays, which is not as improbable as you might think, you're going to have one heck of a story to tell. All that being said, you might not have the chance to see the giant freshwater stingray for much longer. Due to overfishing, the species is in serious danger. They're hovering between endangered and critically endangered, and if something doesn't change, things will not go well for them. In regards to its power, while they tend not to be aggressive, they are very well known for having a stinger that is dipped in toxic mucus. Also, that stinger can pierce bones, so it's a creature you probably don't want to swim up to try to pet. Number 5. Megatherium. When you think of sloths, you likely think of small, slow-moving creatures, but in the Ice Age, there were types of sloths that had much more active and aggressive tendencies, as well as being shockingly massive. One of the biggest among these were the Megatherium. These ground sloths could actually grow up to 20 feet long and stood 12 feet high, which is longer than many land creatures today, including elephants. Another unique feature these sloths had were tails, which they used to help fend off predators who got too close. The tails also helped when they stood on their hind legs, acting as a kind of kickstand. Adding to their offensive and defensive capabilities, the Megatherium also had giant claws as well as very thick skin, making it pretty hard to take out. Descriptions that definitely do not fit most of the sloths that are in the world today. The Megatherium lived primarily in South America, and despite their offensive capabilities and huge size, they were herbivores. The big question here is how the sloth went from a grand and powerful creature to one that is known as lazy. Regardless, ones today are dwarfs in comparison to what they once were. Number 4. Giant African land snail. Snails are creatures that many not only know and see, but like to eat. Not me, but some people. The giant African land snail is huge though. They can be as big as 8 inches. Imagine eating one of those guys. The giant African land snail's body is made up of 2 parts. Their shell and their foot. You know, the goopy mucus they leave a trail of. Their eyes and mouth are part of the muscular mucus that can be fully retracted into their shell. The conical-shaped shell includes 7 to 9 whorls, and the color changes based on the environment where the animal lives, which makes it easy for them to blend in. But with how many of them there are and how big they can get, they also stand out. Their native home is East Africa, found in Mozambique in the south, through to Kenya and Somalia in the north. These snails are considered one of the most invasive species in the world. Giant African land snails have spread to other countries across the world, including islands in the Pacific and Caribbean, Asia, and even the United States. They like to catch rides by attaching themselves to vehicles and agricultural transport. The United States Department of Agriculture considers it one of the most damaging species for agriculture and crops in the entire country. It's known to eat vegetables, fruit, and over 500 different species of plants. Giant African land snails will also feed on the bones of dead animals and sand so they can get extra calcium to grow their shell. In rare instances, they may even eat another snail. Yikes! Number 3. Megalania. Aside from some crocodiles, there aren't many prehistoric reptiles that achieve such enormous size after the age of dinosaurs. One worth mentioning, though, is the Megalania, also known as the giant monitor lizard. In the outback of Australia, there are legends of Megalania. It's said to have been one of the most feared predators the country has ever seen. The Megalania was bigger than your average crocodile. Based on fossil findings, they were anywhere from 12 to 25 feet. What's more, it was said to have a mouth full of teeth that were not only sharp, but extremely venomous. The Megalania would roam through the outback and hunt just about anything, including the earliest settlers of the land, the Aborigines, who were so afraid of the Megalania that they wove it into their folklore and told tales of the beast for generations to come. But here's the twist in the tale. There are those that believe that the Megalania still exists in the Australian outback to this day, despite fossil records stating that it died some time ago during the last true ice age. basis for this belief involves unusual deaths of animals in the outback and occasional tracks that have been found. Should it still be alive, it would obviously be a big deal. But then again, despite lots of events happening in Australia as of late, the creature has yet to truly emerge, likely meaning that this giant creature is indeed extinct. What do you think though? Are there still Megalanias cruising the down under? Number 2. Lion's mane jellyfish. There are certain oceanic creatures that should be avoided if you see them. One of the most well known is the jellyfish. While most are relatively decent sizes, none of them compare to the largest of their species, the one and only lion's mane jellyfish. The body of the lion's mane jellyfish, known as the bell, at full size can be 7 feet long. When you add in the length of the tentacles, you can see why it's the largest and longest of its kind. For you see, each lion's mane jellyfish can technically have up to, and sometimes over, 1,000 tentacles on its body. Wow! They actually have clusters of them, 8 to be precise, each with around 150 tentacles. What's more, these things can reach 180 feet in length, if not longer, though to be fair, this has been disputed by some critics. The only saving grace of this creature is that its tentacles do not inject you with venom, which could make it the deadliest creature in the ocean, if it did. It'll still hurt if you get stung, but it's not known to be fatal. Still, given their length, it makes them a creature that can be hard to avoid. Number 1. Livyatan Melvillei. Whales aren't known for their aggressiveness outside of a few species like the orca. But in prehistoric waters, the Livyatan Melvillei proved that whales can be fierce predators. Some even labeled this beast as the most aggressive whale species that ever existed. The only real modern equivalent to the Livyatan Melvillei is the sperm whale. Unlike the sperm whale though, the Livyatan Melvillei had teeth that were over a foot long. With that size of mouth and teeth, they attacked all kinds of creatures in the sea, even going after sharks and other whales. As noted, this was an aggressive whale, and it would seek out prey rather than wait for them to come to it, like modern whales of our world today. If you're curious about the name of the creature, it was named in part by the legends of the Leviathan, including the one that comes from the Christian Bible, and the other part inspired by the legend of Moby Dick, written by Herman Melville. How big was the creature? Because of fossil records, it's hard to directly pin down a length, but the estimations give it make it between 45 to 57 feet. A middle ground of sorts for the various whale species that lived back then and now. But again, this is a predator and not a peaceful filter feeder. So while not the biggest, it was definitely one of the most feared. Thanks for watching. Have you heard of any of these giant animals before? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you next time on the Bored Badger.